A swing of metal claws, and Sonic managed to just avoid the attack. The two combatants curled into tight balls and launched themselves at each other, bumping off and separating. Sonic's companions waited on the side in preparation to help if need be. Metal Sonic fired an energy beam from the center of his torso, and Sonic rolled to avoid it. Metal Sonic charged forward and punched Sonic in the gut, knocking the wind out of him for a moment. Sonic recovered quickly, however, and slammed himself into Metal, knocking him back. Styx rushed towards the group, waving her arms above her head.
Guys! You'll never guess what I found!
Amy had her hammer out and slung over her shoulder.
Styx, we don't have time for your dumpster diving stories. We're dealing with Metal Sonic right now.
That's just it! I found something!
What is it?
Don't encourage her.
Sonic poked his head from the side of the frame behind Styx.
Guys, there's a battle going on over here.
He dashed off with Metal Sonic flying after him.
Eggman stole something!
What did he take?
I'm not sure, but it's big!
How big are we talking?
Bigger than you! And it's a machine of some kind!
She turned around and pointed to Metal Sonic.
And I heard Eggman say Metal Sonic was just to distract us until he got the machine to his lair!
It was at this point that the battle between Sonic and Metal Sonic ceased. Metal Sonic finger-gunned Sonic with both hands as he blasted away, flying backwards. It was presumed he was returning to Eggman's Lair. Bewildered, the blue hedgehog blinked.
What just happened?
I guess Eggman has some evil scheme. It's probably lame.
We should check it out anyway. Tails, let's you and I do the hero thing and fly to Eggman's Lair and find out what's going on. The rest of you, stay back, just in case.
Eggman's Lair sat atop a solitary land formation in the deep ocean water. It required flight or boat travel to reach. Within the evil base, the Lightning Bolt Society was having a meeting with Dr. Eggman, sitting around a large, round, white table with the middle-aged man at the head seat. He was tenting his hands with his elbows on the table. Glancing among the other members present before turning to Eggman, Dave asked,
So, tell me what this thing is?
It's the key we need to defeat Sonic.
From the floor, Orbot looked up to his tall master.
Isn't it kind of big? And not moving?
Cubot floated up beside his round companion.
Isn't Sonic fast? How is something that doesn't move gonna catch him?
Eggman raised his index finger.
I said it was key. I didn't say it was the weapon.
I don't think it's a good idea.
It was this moment that Sonic and Tails just strolled into the room through the front door.
So, what's the weapon?
Eggman jumped to his feet.
What? This is a private meeting for members only! How did you even get in here?
Tails shrugged.
The front door was open.
First those Girl Scouts and now the blue pineapple. Who left the front door open?
You told us to.
I did not.
On the contrary, your instructions were quite clear. You said you were expecting...
This is the last time I come here.
Shadow entered the room also from the front entrance. He moved slow, really not wanting Eggman to be in his presence. He hadn't forgotten the last encounter with the Doctor where he was tricked into fighting Sonic. Shadow had sworn not to work for Eggman again, and he wanted to stick to his oath.
Shadow? You're here too?
For a moment, Shadow regarded Sonic, then turned back to Eggman with a scoff. Sonic frowned and closed his eyes halfway.
Well, aren't you Mr. Sunshine?
Shadow! You're here!
You have 5 seconds to tell me what this is all about.
Sonic's arch-nemesis stepped away from the table, holding a hand behind his back.
I need you to join us so we can dispose of Sonic once and for all!
Hands on his hips, Sonic called out.
Hello, I'm standing right here.
Shadow rolled his eyes. He had suspected this summoning was for something stupid, and this confirmed it.
This again? I'm done here.
He turned around and began to head back to the front door to leave. But the evil doctor was desperate. He had gone through so much work and trouble to get his plan this far. He raised a hand towards the black hedgehog.
Wait! Don't go yet! I have something you want!
Shadow stopped walking, but didn't turn around.
What could you possibly have that I'd want?
Sonic and Tails turned to one another and shrugged. There was nothing that Shadow had demonstrated any desire for, besides defeating Sonic in battle and exercising his superiority. Was Eggman bluffing, or did he actually make a discovery? Eggman smiled and pressed a button on the wall. A door slid upwards, revealing a small room behind it. In the back of the room was a large containment tube. A yellow female hedgehog was inside the tube, unconscious and surrounded with fluid. Shadow turned around and his eyes widened when he saw the girl. He charged for the doorway. However, the door slammed shut, blocking Shadow's path. With a frown, Shadow pressed the same button Eggman had, but nothing happened. Shadow threw a punch and a kick at the door, trying to break it down. When the door had held steady, Shadow faded out, then back in. His teleportation failed.
What? Chaos Spear!
Shadow flung an energy spear at the door and it exploded. The smoke cleared as the door continued to hold firm. Shadow balled both hands into fists, but didn't turn away from the door.
Open the door, Doctor.
A wicked smile appeared under Eggman's mustache.
Not until you join my team. Oh, and because I'm anticipating you might agree, then bail once you have her. You have to be a part of my team for a month first.
Shadow's quills stiffened.
A month?
Sonic raised a brow and scratched his head.
You kidnapped someone for the sole purpose of getting Shadow to join your team?
Stay out of this!
Sonic, we can't just let Eggman capture someone and hold them hostage.
Agreed, but how do we rescue her? If Shadow couldn't get in that room...
Breaking the control would only keep the door locked, so we need another way.
Like hell, Shadow was going to allow himself to be manipulated by Eggman. He swore he wasn't going to work for the guy anymore, and the Black Hedgehog was one to make good on his promises. If he couldn't enter that room on his own accord, he was going to use other means in getting what he wanted. He began throwing Chaos Spears around the room in random directions, shouting Chaos Spear with each toss. Wherever the spears landed, there was an explosion, destroying whatever they hit.
Like that!
Tails cried as he and Sonic ducked into the hallway to avoid being hit. It was too dangerous to remain here with the destructive hedgehog unleashing his wrath. Members of the Lightning Bolt Society fled the room for their safety. The last member of the group to leave the room, Dave cried as he ran.
I told you this was a bad idea.
Eggman threw his hands over his head for protection.
My lair! I can't be an evil villain without my lair! Stop! Stop!
But Shadow didn't stop. He continued to throw Chaos Spear around, blowing holes in the walls, blasting open the floor. Light fixtures broke and began to darken the room. The table was in several pieces. The furious hedgehog ignored Eggman's pleas.
So, should we stop him?
Why? I mean, do we care what happens to Eggman's Lair? We destroy it all the time.
Good point.
Finally, Eggman pressed on his wrist device a few times, then went to the coveted door, pressing some buttons on the wall panel. The door slid open and Eggman stepped aside, gesturing to the door with both hands.
Here! Take her!
The attack stopped, and silence fell over the room, save for the calls of seagulls flying around outside. The room was no longer recognizable, and one could see the other rooms through the blasted walls. It was like a switch was flipped in Shadow. He quickly stepped into the small room and headed to the back. The tube reached from floor to ceiling. Shadow paused in front of the device and put his hand on the glass, looking to the girl inside with a softened facial expression. Then he reached over and typed a few keys into the panel on the side. A heavy tone sounded, and the screen displayed error. Shadow frowned and then punched the panel, breaking it. Grinding noises, then the glass dropped down with a thump. Fluid gushed out all over the floor. Eggman, Sonic, and Tails shuffled away from the fluid. Shadow threw his arms out and caught the girl before she hit the floor. It wasn't until this moment did the black hedgehog feel relief. Carrying her bridal style in his arms, Shadow jogged out of the room, kicking up fluid with each step. He darted past everyone and left through the front door. Sonic and Tails watched him leave, then turned to Eggman. Eggman was less than pleased about how his crafted plan had failed.
Well, what do you want? Get out of here!
Sonic and Tails shrugged at each other, then left. Eggman turned to his two robot henchmen.
See what you've done? That's why we don't leave the front door open. Now, clean up this mess!
Orbot raised his index finger to counter his master.
But sir, you told us to...
Cubot slapped a hand over Orbot's face.
Shh, shh. You know how he gets when his hemorrhoids are acting up?
Sitting on the ground, Maria was laying against a tree with her eyes closed. She opened her eyes and everything was blurry at first. Only sounds she could hear were the buzzing of insects. Looking up, she saw the dark sky with stars dotted around. She held her hands to her chest, getting scared that she might be alone.
Huh? Shadow?
The black hedgehog was standing nearby with his arms crossed as he kept guard. His dark quills allowed him to blend in with the night scenery. He snapped his head to the yellow hedgehog as she called for him. Then he turned and headed towards her, kneeling down.
I'm here.
Maria let out a relieved sigh, and she could feel her heart settle down. He cupped the side of Maria's face.
Are you hurt?
I'm okay. Did we really make it?
We did. We're on Earth.
Oh, that's...
Then it hit Maria what Shadow actually said. They were on Earth? The last thing she remembered was being on a space station floating around in space.
Wait, we're on Earth?
He withdrew his hand.
Yes.
Maria sat up from the tree, using her arms to prop herself up.
How did we get here? Is it really okay for me to be on Earth? Do I get to see it?
A small smile formed on Shadow's face, and he pressed his index finger to Maria's lips.
Take it easy. Don't get too excited. You just woke up. To be honest, I don't know all the details myself. I thought you were lost to me.
Maria frowned and looked down in her lap as she tried to think things over.
How long was I asleep?
About 50 years.
You didn't forget me, did you?
How could I?
Shadow reached down and pulled the cuff on his left arm, revealing a necklace wrapped several times around his forearm that had a pendant. The pendant held a tiny photograph of Shadow and Maria together. Maria smiled, tears welling in her eyes. It was a gift she made for him using a photo that her grandfather had taken of them. It was 50 years, but he kept the gift and kept it close. She leaned forward and threw her arms around Shadow's neck with tears of joy. Shadow returned the hug, a small smile returning to his face as he closed his eyes.
I'm a lot stronger now than I was then.
His hand slid to Maria's shoulders and he pulled her back to look at her face. His right thumb wiped away one of the tear streams.
I solemnly vow to keep you safe.
Shadow kissed Maria's forehead and she smiled with a small blush.
Oh, Shadow!
Sonic and Amy were taking a stroll through Hedgehog Village together. Almost everyone else were in their homes for the night and were preparing to sleep. It was quiet. A few street lights scattered around the village provided some minimal lighting. Amy had been thinking about the day's events and what Sonic and Tails had reported earlier when they returned from dealing with Eggman.
Are you sure it's nothing to worry about?
Sonic folded his hands behind his head.
It'll be fine. Eggman's schemes lasted all of like 3 minutes.
With a chuckle, he turned around to face Amy and walked backwards.
Your lectures last longer than that.
Both hedgehogs stopped walking and Amy put her hands on her hips.
What was that?
I mean... Oh, hey, look at the time. Better get home to catch Comedy Chip's show. Whoa!
He broke into a run to dash home. Chasing him with her Pico Pico hammer in hand, Amy shouted,
Get